A stainless steel spoon falls to the floor. You pick it up. Wipe it lightly on your sleeve. A hair-thin scratch is still there. Yet the surface remains bright and reflective, almost as if nothing happened. That seems contradictory. Metal is inorganic. It doesn't repair itself like human skin, and yet stainless steel manages to preserve its appearance after thousands of contacts with plates, dish soap, and humid air. That shine does not come from the metal being undamaged. It comes from its ability to rebuild its surface the moment damage occurs. On stainless steel, there exists an ultra-thin layer of chromium oxide, only a few nanometers thick. A nanometer is 1/1000th of a meter. To put that in perspective, a human hair is about 70,000 nanometers thick. This invisible film is so thin you will never see it, yet dense enough to block oxygen and water from reaching the iron beneath. When you scratch stainless steel, you are actually tearing this protective film. The reaction that follows happens almost instantly. Chromium within the alloy reacts with oxygen in the air, forming a new chromium oxide layer that seals the scratch. No batteries, no enzymes, just oxygen. This process is called passivation, and it occurs continuously whenever fresh metal is exposed. Ordinary steel cannot do this. When steel meets oxygen and water, iron forms, iron oxide rust. Rust is porous and loosely attached, allowing oxygen to penetrate deeper. The reaction continues until the structure weakens. Stainless steel behaves differently. With at least 5% chromium in its composition, it forms a stable, tightly bonded oxide layer. The difference lies in just a few percentage points of an element, yet the consequences can extend across decades of use. At this point, the story is no longer just about a spoon. It becomes a lesson in how a material negotiates with its environment. Instead of fighting oxygen with paint or oil coatings, stainless steel uses oxygen itself to build armor. It feels less like a simple chemical reaction and more like a clever strategy. To understand how this alloy came to be, we need to return to the early 20th century. In 1913, in Sheffield, England, a metallurgist named Harry Brearley was trying to improve gun barrels. The steel used in firearms often corroded due to heat and chemical residues from gunpowder. Brearley experimented by adding chromium to steel to improve heat resistance. Some test samples were discarded and left outdoors. Weeks later, he noticed that the chromium-containing samples had not rusted like the others. The discovery was not driven by a desire for polished cutlery. It emerged from military necessity. The journey from gun barrels to dinner knives was an unexpected turn. Once commercialized, stainless steel proved that it did not require frequent polishing like silver, did not discolor like carbon steel, and did not need protective coatings. This transformed industries from kitchens to hospitals. In operating rooms, stainless steel surgical tools could withstand high-temperature sterilization without corroding. In dairy plants, stainless steel tanks resisted mild food acids without reacting. The self-healing ability, however, is not magic. It depends on environmental conditions. If stainless steel is placed in an oxygen-free environment, such as certain strong acid solutions, without air exposure, the protective film cannot regenerate. In those cases, corrosion can still occur. Stainless steel is not immortal. It is simply engineered to survive in the majority of everyday conditions that you and I encounter. There is another detail worth noticing: polishing. When stainless steel is finely polished, its microscopic surface area decreases. Fewer crevices mean fewer starting points for localized corrosion. This explains why stainless steel in hospitals is often polished to a high finish. A smoother surface is not just visually clean, it reduces the ability of bacteria to cling and multiply. Nickel and molybdenum also play roles in this story. Nickel stabilizes the austenitic structure, making stainless steel more ductile and easier to shape. Molybdenum enhances corrosion resistance in chloride-rich environments, such as seawater. That is why stainless steel used in marine equipment differs from the stainless steel used in a household spoon. The alloy concept remains the same, but it is carefully tuned for each context. Return now to the spoon on your table. Each time you wash it with soap and water, the chromium oxide film may experience slight abrasion. The air in your kitchen supplies oxygen to rebuild the protective layer. This cycle repeats silently thousands of times throughout the life of that single object. You never see the chemical reaction, but you benefit from its results every day. When you look at that reflective surface, you might think of cleanliness. In reality, you are seeing evidence of a chemical system functioning exactly as designed. Stainless steel does not resist nature. It works with nature to endure. The next time you notice a small scratch on your spoon, remember that beneath it, a film thinner than a bacterium is forming again. If small details like this make the material world seem a little more fascinating, perhaps it is worth exploring other quiet engineering secrets around your dining table. Who knows, your non-stick pan might have a story of its own.